미국 서북부 지역 끝에 캐나다와 국경을 맞대고 있는 워싱턴주가 있습니다. 우리나라는 워싱턴주의 제6위 교역상대국입니다. 워싱턴주는 농업이 주요 산업이며 아마존과 코스트코, 스타벅스 같은 세계적 대기업의 본사가 자리하고 있는 곳입니다. 머니투데이방송은 우리나라와 교역을 확대하기에 방한 중인 제2인슬리 워싱턴주지사를 만나보았습니다. Mr. Governor, thank you so much for giving us a chance to interview with you despite your very busy schedule here in Korea. Would you briefly tell us what the purpose of your visiting Korea this time is?
Well, we're very excited in our state of Washington and continuing to build these already deep ties with the Korean people and the Korean economy. You know, we have had such close relationship between the state of Washington, the Seattle region, with Korea, and of course it goes back to the war when our folks were very involved, and it's grown from there. We have 140,000 people of Korean ancestry who are business leaders and political leaders in our state. So this is a very personal relationship with the people of Korea in the state of Washington. And now our economic ties are growing so rapidly. Korea is our fourth largest trading partner in the state of Washington. And we have been so thrilled to watch the progress of Korea the last several decades. I know the world is in awe of what the Korean people have done to develop their country. It's an amazing feat. And it's continuing to grow, and we want to be part of that growth. So our purpose is to introduce a lot of our business leaders to business leaders in Korea and customers so that we can continue to build those ties in multiple industries and multiple products. Now I know you know Starbucks, which is a Seattle company, and they're on almost every corner in Korea. But we have so many other industries that we think we can do good business and help consumers in Korea, and we've brought about 30, 35, 50 people to meet with leaders to give consumers access to these products, and also to look for opportunities for Korea to do business in the state of Washington as well. So we're very excited. This has been a wonderful visit already.
So you had several meetings with high level Korean government officials and the key business leaders. So what did you discuss and agree with them?
Well, first off, we thank them for their friendship. We thank them for their caring. We have some fires burning in my state right now, and all of the Korean leaders were aware of that, and they expressed their empathy for us, and I think it's a symptom of how we're a small world now.
I also express empathy.
I appreciate that. We appreciate the empathy we have from the rest of the world. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about our trade opportunities, the status of the trade agreement that we think has been successful in growing economic opportunities on both sides of the Pacific Ocean. We talked about the specific products and services that we would like to make available for Korean consumers. Everything's from blueberries to wine, to potatoes, to swaddling blankets. We have a company that makes swaddling blankets for babies. It's doing very well in Korea. They've sold 1 million of their blankets already. And even popcorn, actually. We have a company that makes gourmet popcorn in Seattle now that is becoming very popular here. And we also talked about some larger high-tech consortiums. We have a hospital that is signing a memorandum of understanding with some hospitals in Korea to share some information about diagnostic and therapy services. We have some energy companies in renewable energy that are working to expand opportunities. So everything from popcorn to clean energy is on our to-do list, and each one of these businesses has had and will have good meetings with business folks. We also talked about the situation with North Korea, and we were very delighted that there has been, because of the leadership in the Republic of Korea, has been able to fashion a reduction in some of these tensions, and we're hopeful for the long-term peaceful situation so that the Republic is not threatened. And as you know, we have tens of thousands of Americans who are standing with the Republic of Korea in this regard. So we're happy that there's been at least a short-term cessation of some of those tensions, but it will be a longer-term issue, we know. So these were great discussions with the Prime Minister and the Vice Minister, and we look forward to some more.
Yeah. And Washington State is located in the northwest of the United States, next to Canada. And can you give us some information a little bit about the Washington State, especially Washington State major industries and the economy?
Well, we're the luckiest state. There's 50 states in the United States, and we are the luckiest state because we are the closest one to the Republic of Korea. So it's
9 hours?
It is the closest by air or by sea, and we actually enjoy a very advantage. Our ports of in Puget Sound is our large, huge bay in our Washington State. We have several ports, and they're doing very well in the shipping relationship with Korea. So that's been very successful. Our state is a very dynamic economic state. We are on the cutting edge of quite a number of growth industries. Certainly in aerospace, with Boeing's successes, and most of their manufacturing is still in the Western Washington area, in the Seattle area. Obviously, we know the software companies, starting with Microsoft, which has been revolutionized the world with the very first successful global software program. But we have a whole host of other companies in addition to Microsoft now. Google has facilities, Facebook, a host of high-tech software companies. Our retail prowess, the Amazon company, is located in Seattle, which is now an international retailer and is making goods available to people at very good prices worldwide. Starbucks is located in it. And we have a huge agricultural industry. We have literally the best topsoil in the world for growing wheat. We have some of the best cherries, apples, hops. We are now going to double our wine production. Our wines and Washington wines we're winning all these international awards. It's pretty amazing, actually, and we're going to double that industry. And our biotechnology industry is going by leaps and bounds. We have some companies now that are on the cutting edge of cancer cures using genetically modified cells to be cancer fighters, and they are having some spectacular success at the Juno company at Fred Hutchinson. So it's the most rapidly growing, one of, if not the most rapidly growing cities from a high-tech and entrepreneurial area in Seattle, Washington, and we have a lot of other things, of course, across the whole state. So we're proud of our state. Good things are happening. We've had the second highest rate of job creation in the United States of all 50 states. So it's a very dynamic and successful company. And the reason is, or one of the reasons is, we are very all-embracing of talent. We bring in talent from the world to build these companies. So we have people building software companies from China, Korea, England, Ireland, Canada, Brazil, and we have brought a lot of human capital into the creative economy, and that's why we're so successful. We know Korea wants to do that as well, to build a creative economy. So we think we have two economies that can do well by each other.
So how about tourism? I lived in the Seattle for 2 years in late 90s. I remember the Seattle is a beautiful place.
We are physically blessed. There is no more. Now, we all love our homes. We all think our homes are the most beautiful. But I do think Washington State is the most beautiful place in the United States. And the reason is it has almost everything that is in nature that is beautiful. It's very unique. So it has glaciers, but it also has dry land, high plains like cowboy country. And we have a lot of cattle and people who run cattle in our state. It has wonderful ocean beaches, but it also has volcanic peaks. It has dry land wheat, and it has rainforest. So it's a very diverse state and very, very blessed. We have some of our most beautiful national parks, the Olympic National Park, Mount Rainier, North Cascades National Park. So For nature, we are very, very blessed, and it is a wonderful place. We hope you'll come to visit, because you haven't been there since you were at the University of Washington. So I hope you'll come back. And
I hope so. Yeah. Actually, many leaders from the Washington state joined your visit to Korea this time. So please tell us. You tell me the 30 to 35.
Yes, I think it's almost pushing 50 now. These are representatives of individual companies, and they have also representatives of public agencies that help build our economy.
So
port systems
what
and
is
the like.
their role during your stay in Korea?
Well, it's a variety of things. The private companies are making contacts with potential customers and potential distributors who can distribute their products. The public agencies are entering into agreements to collaborate in the use of technology. The hospitals are figuring out ways to share information and share best practices. We have some educational institutions. We have tremendous cross-fertilization of education going on within Korea. We have, many, many Korean students. And right now we have one of our colleges that are entering into an agreement with some of the colleges here to share some of their educational service, maybe swapping credits or the like. So the thing that's exciting to me is that it's not just one thing, it's many things that we're actually opening up doors of business across the Pacific.
Korea ranked 6th among Washington state export market last year. So what are the main export goods, and what do you think is the mutually beneficial way of trading between two countries?
Well, I think we've made real progress with the trade agreement that has removed some barriers to our trade so that people can actually do business together. And I think that's been mutually productive for both sides because it allows both countries to do what we do best. Obviously, the things that both in agriculture and aerospace, are our dominant exports over time, but software and services are growing. So our ability to provide services to the world is growing. Software services, cloud computing services that can be provided not necessarily on a ship, but digitally. And that's the part of our export market that is continuing to grow to provide services. The retail services of our retailers of Amazon's and Expedia and some of our digital and internet-based producers, and those have, obviously, this is a whole new revolution because it allows us to provide exports directly to the consumer, not through some distributor, and that has huge growth potential. We're now finding quite a number of people in Korea who are essentially using freight forwarders who can buy products from online retailers overseas and then use freight forwarders to accumulate that freight and ship it very cheaply in accumulated packages at very low cost with infinite variety. So this is going to open up new opportunities for consumers around the world, including Korea, and this will do very well by Washington State because we have obviously the cutting edge of that type of business model. Now our agricultural products continue to grow. The kind of things that we're selling are very much liked in Korea, including fine wine, potatoes, great wheat. We've got blueberries now that we want to increase sales of some of our blueberries, one of our most healthy products known to man. And we have significant growth potential in agriculture.
So in the state, California is the largest wine producing state, right? So it's the Washington. How about Washington State? Is the second? Or
we're second, but we're closing very rapidly because we probably will have a doubling of our wine production in the next 10 years. But more important than the quantity is our quality is just amazing. We're winning a whole host of international honors for the quality of our wine. And I think that's only going to increase over time. So the world is starting to get the secret, which is Washington wine is a very, very high quality product, and we think Korea is going to love that.
So let me ask you in more detail about the Washington State interest in promoting relationship with Korean aerospace and the game industry. I heard that some of your leaders visited Sacheon, so the Korean aerospace industry. It is located there. So my question is that how do you think both countries cooperate in industries such as the aerospace and game?
Well, obviously we're always looking for markets, you know, and we make the best airplanes in the world and the most fuel efficient airplanes in the world. We're very proud of that, and we are on the cutting edge of new technologies, obviously carbon-based technologies. We've made the first successful commercial carbon-based jet in the world, the Boeing 787. So we're always looking to expand markets and to look for customers in that regard. But there are working relationships to enable us to continue to have my state be the place where we fabricate the final assembly of these airplanes. We know we need good international partners. And so we're dedicated to maintaining my state as the #1 place in the world to build airplanes, and that requires having some international partnership. And fortunately we are. We actually were very excited. Boeing's next big airplane, the Boeing 777X, will be fabricated in the state of Washington. And that was a decision that was made last year. And we're very excited about that because obviously it means tens of thousands of jobs of people, both machinists and engineers, who are going to be working on this project. So we think pardon the bad pun, sky's the limit when it comes to aerospace. And I believe that's true because the world demand curve for jet travel is just huge. It's, you know, a very rapidly increasing demand curve. And the Boeing company now has orders, you know, back orders for years and years and years for the Boeing 737, and we're doing very well.
So didn't the headquarters of Boeing move to Chicago, but you mean that the main production still takes place here in Seattle, right?
The corporate headquarters in Chicago, but the main production facility is in Seattle area, Painfield, or Muckleteel or Everett, depending on how you count. It's just north of Seattle. And then we have a cluster of hundreds of companies that are in the supply chain for the Boeing company in the Seattle area, and it's growing very rapidly. Our aerospace industry is very healthy in the state of Washington, and we've even had some new, Mitsubishi is doing some work now in the state of Washington. So for a lot of reasons, we think our aerospace future is very, very promising.
So my next question is about the foreign direct investments. So attracting FDI is a key part of the Washington State international business the development strategy. In terms of FDI, can you say in more detail which Korean companies you want to invest in your state?
All of them. How's that? Yeah, and I won't list any particular company, but we were looking for investment because we have human capital and we have very visionary entrepreneurs, and if you marry that with capital, really good things happen. And so we welcome investment in the state of Washington, and we are receiving that investment from other places in other countries. Because people recognize this opportunity in our state. Look, we have one company, the Amazon company, is hiring 40,000 people just in the Seattle area in the next several years. And we're seeing that kind of growth, although starting from a smaller level in biotechnology. Aerospace is very sound for years to come. You know, there's just a lot of creative talent, and we know that creative talent is the fundamental infrastructure for economic growth in today's worldwide high-tech economy. So we have all the conditions for very significant economic growth, and people realize that. So we're seeing a lot of investment, foreign investment in real estate, homes, you know, office buildings, hotels. People realize we are a great place to do business. People realize that we are a center of Pacific trade because we have had a very clear strategy to maximize our trade with Asia. And I think we came to understand earlier than many other places in the United States where the future is which is off of our west coast in the Asian economies, and we're maximizing our opportunities on that. This is just one of our pieces of that, our strategy that we're implementing, and it's working very well.
I think the Korean companies may be interested in I mean, the kind of the incentives, such as tax incentives, if they invest in the States. So are there any benefit or incentives?
Well, there are some, I mean, we have a tax code that favors business development in a number of ways. In our aerospace situation, we have a tax code that favors job creation in aerospace, for instance. We have some that favors some investment in agriculture. But as far as foreign investors, we have one program that allows people who will make an investment to essentially have access to legal entry into the United States. And that is a remaining program. It's been involved in quite a bit of real estate investment. And so that remains on the books and is being used as we speak.
You visited the Jeonju Hanok village in Jeollabuk-do during your stay in Korea and met with Governor Song. So I'm happy you visited my hometown,
Yes.
Jeonju. So what was your impression of the city and what did you discuss with Governor Song?
Well, I had a delightful meeting with Governor Song. I really enjoyed meeting him. Seems like just such a personable person who cares about his community. He's done some really good things. The village, which is a tribute to the old part
Korean
of
traditional
old traditional village, which is beautiful architecture and wonderful to see the old. But obviously, Governor Song is more interested in the future, and his leadership on issues of renewable energy, for instance, were very impressive to me. We saw, I think, there's almost 1,000 solar panel installations now in that province, and we talked about his policies that will help promote renewable energy, and that's very important, obviously, to the whole world in my state right now because of climate change and carbon pollution, which is so damaging to my state. We have these forest fires that we talked about that are going to be more frequent and intense because of carbon pollution and climate change, and it was impressive to me to be able to listen to Governor Song talk about some of the things going on in that province, to reduce dependence on fossil fuel, to give consumers more options for cleaner ways to generate electricity, and that's happening in that province. So that was exciting to see. Now I also love to see some of the agriculture because we come from an agriculturally productive state, and I love seeing the fields intermixed with some of the industrial development. So to have Hyundai and in this new area where they're reclaiming some of the land from the sea for industrial development, together with agriculture, it was exciting to see, and I very much enjoyed meeting him.
Okay, this is my last question. So, do you have something to tell Korean people about the future of two countries' trade and cultural ties as the Washington State governor?
I do, actually. First, I want to express my admiration for the people of Korea, what they've done here. We know the economic miracle that the whole world stands in awe of, that over the last several decades, to see the development. I talked to one of the members of our team. He works in the field of clean energy. He was here in the early 70s with the U.S. Army, and he went back to see his old Army base now, and he said he couldn't recognize it as the same country. But we also admire the democracy of Korea. It's a vibrant democracy. People can speak their minds. They're vocal sometimes. But it's a vibrant democracy, and we admire that, and we're committed to that of these two democracies. The other message I have is we'd love you to come visit and do business with the state of Washington. We think we're the best place in the United States to do business right now. We have the intellectual creative talent of Silicon Valley without the smog and traffic, at least for a little less in any event, although that's a beautiful area as well. We just think we have a lot of opportunities to share job creation, to share business development, and we are a very open place to do business. So we're an easy place to do business. My administration is dedicated to job creation around these creative industries. So if you're a business person in Korea and you're looking for a place to have a business partner, Washington's a good place, and I encourage you to give us a call.
제이 인슬리 미국 워싱턴주지사의 이번 방한을 계기로 워싱턴주에 있는 미국 최고의 기업들과 한국 기업들의 교류가 더욱 활발해져서 양국의 경제 성장에 큰 도움이 될 것으로 기대됩니다. 시청해주신 여러분 고맙습니다.